What's up, bud? It's Rob. This is Apparel Success. And in this video here, what I want to share with you are some really deep insights on success that I think will give you the slight edge over other people trying to grow a clothing brand. And this is just really understanding certain things about how success works that will, just by simply understanding them and knowing them, allow you to focus yourself in the right ways and become much more effective as an entrepreneur. Apparel Success is sponsored by my buds over at Design Crowd. And if you need designs made for your clothing brand, I seriously recommend that you check them out and you use them for your clothing brand. What you do is you post a project on Design Crowd and amazing designers from all around the world will compete for your project. You choose the winner, then you get that design. I'm pulling up an image of a design that I had made through Design Crowd recently for my own clothing brand that I'm gonna be selling through my website. And if you're interested, check out the offer that I have for you at designcrowd.com/apparel. You can save about $100 on the project that you start, or simply use the discount code apparel when you post a project on Design Crowd. All right, the first insight that I want to share with you in this video is one of the main reasons why I believe you are fully capable of growing a successful clothing brand, regardless of whatever state your clothing brand is currently in. Unsuccessful, on its way, wherever you are, I believe that you can still achieve success. The reason for this is that value transforms and morphs over time. And basically, one of the flaws a lot of people have in their thinking when they first start up a clothing brand and they try and launch and it doesn't go well is that they believe that, well, that must mean something about their clothing brand. That must mean that their clothing brand wasn't good enough, or that their clothing brand isn't good enough, and that they can't change it or transform it or improve it anymore. And that basically when they launched, it's just kind of unfortunate that it wasn't one of those brand ideas that was successful and that took off. That way of thinking is actually 0% accurate when it comes to how most clothing brands grow and how most clothing brands become successful, how most businesses grow and how most businesses become successful, and how most people grow and how most people become successful. And the reason for this is that everybody has a starting point, right? Let's say you want to learn how to juggle. When you first start to learn how to juggle, you try. If you were to say, because you dropped the ball the first time, that's it, and that you're done, and that, well, that just must mean that I'm not a juggler, well, then you just know that that's not true, right? And it's so obvious when you look at that example. But when it comes to business, for some reason, everybody's so, hooked on this idea of having to get it right out the bat, the first time. Like right when you launch, it has to just completely succeed. And that's actually just completely a flawed way of thinking. The accurate way to think about it, the right way to think about it, is that value is built. Value transforms and morphs over time. And what this means is that basically when you start a clothing brand, that is the beginning of a very long journey of you constantly injecting value into your clothing brand, you constantly working to build more value into your clothing brand, and every single day you can make 1%, tweaks, 1% improvement to actually get yourself to the point where you need to be. And that's why I believe that wherever you're at in your clothing brand's life, whether you're unsuccessful right now and you've been trying it for a year, that you can totally turn this whole thing around. You can transform, you can morph your brand in a direction where it has value and it has perceived value. And the real thing that's holding you back here is really Isaac Newton's law of motion, the first law of motion, which is inertia. Objects in motion tend to stay in motion, and objects that aren't in motion tend to stay not in motion. And basically, this is very, very accurate to how business works, where, now that I've got the ball rolling on this YouTube channel here and for my clothing brand, it just tends to keep moving forward. We've got the momentum going, and the objects in motion just tend to keep going in motion. But for a lot of people who haven't got the ball rolling yet, the motion hasn't even started, well, then it tends to stay that way. And so what you really need to do is just try things. Really, really put yourself out there in terms of experimenting and trying with new things, because that's how you'll initially get the ball rolling in a direction where it'll stay rolling and you'll start seeing that serious improvement over time. One of the reasons why clothing brands with a lot of potential never reach their full potential is that we're creatures of habit. And there's a lot of clothing brands that have been struggling for 2 years, 3 years, that have literally been just doing the same thing for 3 years. and they haven't tried changing up their name, they haven't tried changing up their About Us page, or their landing page, or their approach on social media, and it's just the same thing that's not getting results, and they're just hoping that at some point people will respond to their clothing brand differently for whatever reason it is. It's almost like you're hoping that somebody just luckily sees the value in your clothing brand, and that's just really not a realistic way to get results. And if you're being results oriented, after 2 or 3 years of trying to grow your clothing brand, and you've been doing the same thing and you're not getting results, you have to change things up. And that changing things up, that shaking things up a bit, changing the name, changing your approach on social media, changing your website, whatever it is, changing your designs, changing your products, all that is what's going to allow you to morph the value of your clothing brand in the right direction. And it's really through taking that action and through taking that bold action that's what's going to get you to a point where you're actually onto something. And it's really through that action that you start to discover what your brand's all about, right? That's the self-discovery process of your clothing brand. In a nutshell, is that taking action? Is that stepping outside of your comfort zone and doing things when things aren't going right? Trying new things. And that's how you figure out what works and what doesn't work. And there's really no way of doing that if you're just trying the same thing over and over again and it's leading to the same place. Okay, so this is sort of the whole point of this video, is that wherever you're at right now, it can change, and it will change if you're willing to put yourself out there and try and experiment. And that was really the whole gist of this video, and I really hope that it helped. So if you've been at this for a while and you haven't gotten many results yet, then shake it up a bit, right? Take a step back, look at your clothing brand, and ask yourself, what changes can I make that would really move my clothing brand forward? And ask yourself this intuitively, like, what do I feel would really help improve my clothing brand and help me get to the next level? And then do that thing. Let me know what you thought about this video in the comments below, and drop your brand down there as well. I like to check out the brands that are watching. And if you haven't already, check out my clothing brand marketing masterclass. It's 100% free to watch. All you have to do to get access is go to apparelsuccess.com/masterclass. And if you've made it to this point in the video, I want to tell you about the closed Facebook group for Apparel Success. There's a link in the description. Follow that link, join us in the group, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.